Nowadays, one's claim to fame is almost like hitting the lottery. And by one post going viral on TikTok, you might find yourself amongst some of the largest names in the industry. And that's kind of what happened to this guy named David. He gained a lot of popularity from a song of his that went viral on TikTok. But things have recently taken a turn for the worse. Because as of late September 2025, his name has been mentioned in connection with the death of a 13-year-old girl named Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And now his musical artistic style has been put under a microscope by the general public after the body of the 13-year-old girl was found in the trunk of a Tesla that was under his name but was somehow left abandoned. And they didn't find her body until some time later when the odor became too much and it was more than obvious something was wrong. But before we go a little bit further, I want to remind you guys to leave a like. I know I sometimes forget to leave likes on videos that I'm enjoying. I just get into them and I enjoy them and I forget. And so I don't want you guys to forget, okay? And if you're new here and like what you hear and want to hear more, hit that sub button for me too. Let's continue. Now, although David's name has been mentioned in this investigation, there has been no arrest made yet. And on September 8th of 2025, authorities discovered the badly decomposed and dismembered body of the teen in an abandoned Tesla, like I said, that was registered in David's name. So whoever committed this heinous act actually dismembered her, or they did something with her body, maybe to try to hide the identity, maybe in a vain attempt to cover up their tracks and what they actually did to her. Celeste was originally reported missing in April of 2024, and she was only 13 years old when she vanished. Now, David and the people that surround him say he is cooperating with the homicide investigation. And so far, the cause of her death has been listed as deferred. And that just means that something is basically getting put off to a later date. Not sure why you want to put a murder investigation off to a later date. I have no idea, but that's just what I read, you guys. Maybe it's just to keep some information. They're obviously not going to come out with everything that they have while there's an ongoing investigation, right? But there's also speculation that David and Celeste may have known each other and may have often kicked it with each other. For instance, Celeste's family claims that they last saw her on May 4th of 2024, but her brother Matthew Rivas said that she left the home to go see a movie with David and never came back. And apparently Matthew also disclosed that his family was aware of Celeste's relationship with David. And he claimed that David would often pick up his younger sister in the same Tesla in which she was later found dead in. And it's also being reported that Celeste had ran away on at least 3 different occasions in early 2024 before she was never seen again after May 4th, 2024. So this brings up some more issues and questions and red flags as to why this young girl, because at the time she was 13 years old, why was she running away this much? So 3 times already before this last time. She obviously didn't want to be in that home. And I'm not throwing shade at the family because I don't know them from a hole in the wall. But running away 3 times, that's a lot, okay? I know teenagers, they have angst, they go through problems. Everything is so dramatic when you're in your teens and you're that young. Everything seems like the end of the world when it's not going your way, okay? Especially when it has to do with love and you think you're in love and all that mess, okay? So it might get you to do some things that you should not be doing, okay? Like going out, wanting to be out at all types of the night. And if you're not allowed to do that, then you might run away. But 3 times, that's a bit excessive. So in my mind, that makes me think there was someone in that household that she did not want to be around at all. So she would rather take her chances being out on the street or doing whatever she needed to do to stay away from the home. Now, that is my opinion. Like I said, I'm not trying to throw shade at this family because I don't know them, but I'm just assessing the situation and just analyzing the information as it comes in. So you might be thinking, how did this person who had become popular so fast, who's getting known in a lot of places, and at the time he's 19 years old, So how was he able to continuously kick it around a 13-year-old girl without there being red flags raised, without someone reporting it to some authorities? Well, apparently the group that surrounded him and people that came around assumed that she was a college student. Now, I'm not sure how these people believe that or assume that she was a college student, but if you look at this young girl, you can tell she's young, all right? She definitely doesn't look like a college student, and she has those type of features and the type of look that you can just tell she's still a child. You guys, let me know if you know what I'm talking about, because even though through social medias and certain pictures taken, some of these younger women can look older than what they truly are, but you can tell they have baby faces, and even if you meet them in person, you can tell by their mannerisms, the way they walk, the way they talk, you know, the way they carry their body, period, that they are not mature enough. So when you see that and you see those certain characteristics, you need to ask yourself, does this person belong in this situation? Do they belong around grown people who are smoking, drinking, doing drugs out at 2 a.m.? Should this person be in that situation? And I think that is just good advice for anyone. If you're at a party, you see a young kid there, do something about it. You know, maybe talk to them, maybe try to see why they're there. You know, are they in danger? Because child trafficking is a real thing, and that could unfortunately be another component of this case as well. There's so many possible outcomes, but there are a lot of people, like I said, who have their sights straight on David. And so naturally, with this case having strong roots to the social media metaverse, we have what I like to refer to as the triple I's, and that's the independent internet investigators, who've quickly began to research several aspects of this situation, and they're starting to weigh in heavily with their opinions on the matter. One person mentioned that they may be able to find out who committed this crime by looking at the cameras on the Tesla, and this is what they said. I heard that the 2023 Tesla model where she was found has 6 cameras built into the car. When the trunk is open, they will see the person who put Celeste into the trunk, and it will show who gets into the driver's side and passenger side door. Unless the cameras were faulty, the Tesla should be able to tell the story. So naturally, I had to do some investigation of my own, and this is what I found out about the cameras on the make and model of the Tesla that David owned. So according to the news and all that, it's saying that the model was a 2023 Tesla Model Y, and what I first found is that this car has 8 cameras. But there is a catch, because this particular model could be equipped with up to 9 cameras. And we're going to get to that 9th camera here in just a little bit, but let me go over all the cameras on this car first. So there's one camera mounted above the rear license plate, and that's, you know, a standard camera that a lot of newer cars have. And then there's a camera mounted on each door pillar. So that's 2 cameras total. All right. So on each side of the doors, in between the front and the back doors, there are cameras located kind of like in between where the windows are. And then next we have 3 cameras that are mounted on the windshield above the rear view mirror. So these will be facing out towards the front. You know, you'll get like a wide view angle of the front of the car, right? Then there's a camera that's mounted on each front fender as well. I know there's a lot of cameras. I didn't know Teslas had this many cameras, you guys, until I started researching this. So on each fender up there, kind of by where the wheels are towards the front of the fender, there's 2 cameras on each side. And then this is where it gets interesting, because the Tesla Model Y may be equipped with a cabin camera, and this is located above the rear view mirror, and this camera is facing the inside of the car and would be able to get a view of who's in the car. So my thought is that this camera, along with the 3 cameras that are mounted on the windshield facing the front of the car, is where a lot of the most important footage might be found. Because if you guys don't know by now, Teslas have what's called a frunk. And that means that the trunk of the car is actually located in the front and not the back. So with all those cameras facing the front, there may be some damning footage that could be the smoking gun in this case. And a camera that might contain even more damning footage is the cabin camera, because that's pointing inside the car. So that will show who's getting inside the car, in the driver's seat, in the passenger seat, or just inside the car, period. So you guys, what do you think about that? Do you think they already have all that damning evidence and they're just trying to put all the pieces together. Do you think that he is guilty of this crime, or is it innocent until proven guilty? And that brings me to another comment that someone made about this situation. And they said, there seems to be a lot of people on here who are absolutely certain that they know the truth. Let's let the gathered evidence speak. It will. She was a David groupie. She had run away before. Why, to him, or where? Teslas have cameras. Photos get sent to phones. Electronics have been seized. Forensic sleuths can even find deleted items. Teslas have onboard computers, so presumably routes can be traced. From what location was the car driven to the location found? Did anyone besides David often interact with Celeste? If so, who? Please let the authorities search for the evidence with forensic personnel. Yes, let there be justice, but true justice, not vigilante demands. So that's someone, kind of sticking up for David and saying, hey, a lot of people are just jumping to conclusions just because the car was in his name. The car was in his name, like I said, but it was abandoned, and it had been abandoned for some time. But the overall consensus when people start looking into this case is that there are too many so-called coincidences, okay, between David and Celeste, the so-called relationship that they might have had. So for instance, Celeste's family had confirmed that Celeste had a sh tattoo in red ink on her right index finger, and that tattoo matched the same type of tattoo that David had on his index finger as well. Now, of course, this is not okay, case done, shut it, it's over with. It's just a really odd coincidence, right? But then again, at the same time, someone could argue, okay, when people idolize certain entertainers, they tend to dress like them, do things that they do, mimic their style, and do things in honor of them, such as getting tattoos. So you could argue that side of that as well. Another thing that the internet sleuths have allegedly unearthed was a song of David's titled Celeste. Now, if you listen to the song and read the lyrics of it, it's one of the more sinister pieces to this puzzle. If this is actually a song he wrote, and this is a song that was unreleased, because by looking at his social media, okay, you guys, there was a lot of songs he didn't release. He constantly had a bunch of his fans down in the comments saying, okay, when are you going to release the album? When are you releasing this song? They would get on him back to back about him kind of, giving out little samples of unreleased songs. So it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that he actually had an unreleased song called Celeste, right? But you guys, what's so crazy about this whole situation is that what came in the back of my mind when I'm listening to these songs and I'm watching, the video that people have put up on YouTube about this unreleased song, the thing that comes to mind is AI. Okay. And that's scary because you don't know if something is real. You don't know if it's fake unless you can get behind the scenes and actually know the real source of the video, which I know they have the ability to do that. But that's why it's so hard, and you shouldn't take everything at just face value, especially on the internet. And I think that's going to come into play a lot in the future, and it's going to actually make it harder to charge people with crimes, and it's going to make it harder to prove people's innocence as well. And I feel like that is one of the major downfalls of AI. I don't know. It's just really scary when you think about it in that aspect. And unfortunately, things are just going to go forward, and they're just going to get more and more depth with AI. And that's just human nature, right? We evolve, things happen. And I definitely like technology. Don't get me wrong. I am glad that we have come this far as technology and being able to prove things that would not have been proven back in the 1920s and whatever, when people were running around just murdering people. Okay. Now, since there are cameras virtually everywhere, you got a little bit of a chance to prove that something happened. But then at the same time, you flip over the coin, come some years down the road, that same footage might have to be deeply analyzed to make sure that it's not fake, right? But I digress, you guys. Let's get back to the subject at hand, and that is David and Celeste. Now, I do want to talk about some more things about David, because as I was going through his social media, I found out some personal things about him. And I feel like these little bits of information could be used to put some things into perspective as to his character and would he really be capable of doing something like this. And a bit of information he shared with his fans is that he was bullied as a child and he was homeschooled. He said, "Never being able to express my feelings properly because I was homeschooled and had no social life for 5 years." I'm assuming he suffered through depression and was taking medication for depression as well, because there was another post that said this: "Me trying to explain why I only make one happy song a year because most of my fans are just as depressed as me and I want to be the only artist they listen to." So he came out and said that he's depressed, and then one of his videos, he had some medication by his bedside, and another one, he's at his doctor's office and he makes a post saying like, "POV, doctor won't give me more medication until I release an album." And that was him responding to his fans, always harping to him about releasing the songs that he would tease them with and when was he going to release his album. So another thing I noticed on his page, so apparently there was an incident when he performed at Coachella and he attempted to do a backflip and he fell, and the guy looked like he almost broke his neck. Like, he looked like he seriously injured himself. But in result, a lot of his so-called fans, and I'm going to say so-called fans because who makes fun of someone for, almost critically injuring themselves like that? But it was just back to back people laughing at him for making that mistake. So, he made a post that said, "Made everyone laugh at my backflip, then made everyone cry to my song." But I feel like that internet bullying got to him. Considering he is someone with a history of being bullied, you would think that his fans wouldn't come out and do that. Or at least if they weren't his fans in the comments bullying him about that backflip, then maybe his real fans should have got behind him and supported him. Unless there's something I'm missing. Maybe that's the way they played around. I don't know. But from outside looking in, I would think that would be the last thing his fans would do down in his comment section, is to tease him about something like that, right? That's just my opinion. So that probably took a hit to his ego as well. Another thing I noticed too is that he put a post up about his mom making him take out his piercings. All right. This guy is 20 years old. He's over the age of 18, but that kind of showed me how much control his family probably still has over him, as far as his mom goes, at least. So his mom didn't want him having those piercings in his nose, and he listened, and so he took them out. But you could tell he was a little insecure afterwards because he went to social media and asked them, how did he look after the fact, right? So you guys, there's so much going on with this case, and there's so much speculation around what really happened to Celeste. Let me know your opinions down below. If you think he's just straight up guilty, then that's your opinion. You can think that. I don't know enough about the story, just like a lot of people don't know. Could he have been set up? Yes. Could he know who did it? Yes. Could he have been the one who did it? Yes. The possibilities are endless. All right. It could have been an accident. It could have been an overdose. It could have been anything. But let me know what you feel. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave it a like. And if you're new here, subscribe.